All right, great. Now we continue with the 30 days, number 18, 18th day. So that's really lovely. Yeah, today, wow, a new day, completely new, completely a new idea coming into this moment together. So I'm happy that you're here, that you decided to join, that you want to be discovering with us. That is so great and really lovely. So today Joel is helping us out with Rebirth, Rebirth with Joel. And I'll turn up the volume a little bit. And always good to know. So Joel is going to help us out here with the rebirth, and he brings us into a very specific idea. In fact, it is the part where you recognize that you don't have to do anything. And now that sounds easy. It's like, okay, I don't have to do anything. Oh, great, wonderful. That's easy. I can do that. I can start my Monday morning with that. Yeah, I do nothing. Yeah, sure. No, that's not what he means, though. No, 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 no. So, of course, the doing that we think we need to do in order to achieve something is only, say, temporary of any kind of value in your way of thinking. But for the rest, when you are contemplating, like we're going to do in a moment, when you're contemplating, when you sink deep into your stillness, when you're opening up your consciousness for a whole new experience, then something happens. And that something happens can be that you suddenly start to experience light, or a sense of presence and connectedness. And so in that moment that you experience that, it becomes very obvious that you need do nothing. And this is exactly what that is about. So I selected a part of a tape of The Spirit Within, which is a really great talk in 1964, I think a couple of weeks before his passing. He teaches in Manchester, I think it is, but I can be wrong, I don't know. So it's in 1964, that Spirit Within. So I selected a part of it, what has to do with this doing nothing. In fact, like I of my own self can do nothing. So that means that the real essential thing that is actually occurring and that has any reality to it is not of my doing. Now that is something to be happy about. It's not that you're being excluded. No, you're completely included, but the doing is not yours. And that makes it so different. And you already hear that whispering in your mind too. It's like, okay, so when I'm completely involved, but there's no doing on my part, how does this work? It's like my tendency is to do things. I want to contribute to it, and I want to do something for it. I want to, well, I want to do all kinds of things to make this happen. And then it's like that's okay. It is not that you should not do that. It is not that it's not working. No, it's like no, your efforts are like they are all part of that too, until you recognize that it doesn't make any sense. But that's for you to discover. And it doesn't make any sense. What I mean with that is like in the experience of, say, the communication, you see that the communication already takes place. So what can possibly be your doing? See, that starts to make perfect sense if I share it like this. Like pure communication, communion with your source is happening right now. Now what are you going to do? So in this, say the real requirement or invitation, as I love to call it, is like the invitation is here to listen, to be receptive, to be to open up your consciousness, even though you have no idea what that means. But you have a sense of it, and do that anyway. It might help. Or come into a receptiveness in terms of, well, let's already say thank you before we receive, before I consciously receive anything, I'll already say thank you. That can help too, because then everything opens up. It's like, okay, it's already accomplished. I don't need to do anything, and here we are. Now, in this talk, that spirit within, I could say, bring in so much more, but I was looking at 3 questions that came up that I looked. These are very simple questions. So if you go through the transcript of it's 562, I think it is. Let me take a real quick look. 564b, that spirit within. If you go through the transcript, and just look at the questions that are stated there, it's totally mind-blowing. So one of them is this: how can God show us the way if we are not listening? And that we're so busy, for instance, being so busy with our own, make it a little bigger. So we are so busy with our own doings that we forget to listen. Now, how can God show us a way? How can God communicate with us if we are already preoccupied with our own world and ideas and problem solving, and who knows what we're doing, being concerned, being occupied with our body investment, you could say? How can I possibly hear God if I'm doing that? So opening my consciousness means leaving my concerns for what they are, leaving my problems for what they are. For a moment, I'm not going to touch that in any kind of way or put my attention there. No, I shift my focus into wholehearted listening. Now here Joel says too in the talk, it's like, with whatever decision you are making. For instance, he gives 2 examples, like, for instance, starting a new relationship, or buying a house, or who knows what, human activity. So who on earth is sitting down, contemplating, just asking Spirit the questions, like, is this the will of God? Is this what I'm supposed to do right now? Is this what I'm supposed to start right now? Is that really the will of God? Because I have no other will than the will but God, than God's will. So is this really the will of God? Show me. So it's like, who does that? Now this is another one of opening your consciousness to some divine inspiration, you could say. So that is so lovely. It's like just 3 questions I just quickly got out of the text. These are so fundamental. How do you expect Christ to live your life without inviting the Spirit of God, the presence of God within you? It's like we say, like, yeah, Christ lives in me. We can say this. Joel says this in many talks, like, and it's being referred to in many books. It's like, okay, yeah, Christ lives my life. That's a great expression. But are you actually inviting the Spirit of God and the presence of God within you? Are you actually inviting that in? Are you actually opening up to that? It's like, how else can Christ live your life? There would be no way that is possible. Yeah, on a spiritual path, you could say. Exactly, just in the whole rebirth, resurrection path, where we are making some steps, we're actually going through some steps, in the sense, how can we come to the reality of this? Like, okay, it's great to be on a spiritual path and say, yeah, consider some ideas, but now it's about the application. Am I actually inviting the Spirit within, up to the point that I'm actually experiencing the stirring of Spirit in me, that I'm actually feeling the inspiration or experiencing the light? Am I willing to go that far? It's like, actually, it is like I'm actually willing to really start my spiritual path, because that starts when I feel inspired, when I feel the stirring of his strength in me, when I start to have experiences that show me like I need do nothing. I can receive this, it's given me, and it will speak for me. I don't need to do anything. I can totally trust what is going on. Like, so this is the reality check again, like another reality check. It's like the spiritual path is not a path of ideas or philosophies. No, it's an actual very practical, say, integration of those ideas into the direct experience which they behold. And that's really the truth of it. So lovely here in this talk. If you haven't listened to it, please do. Like there are probably maybe 30 questions in there. These were just 3 of them, very fundamental, all pointing out to you. It's like, hey, hello, have you thought of this? Hey, look at this. What do you think? Hello? So this goes on and on and on, which is really lovely. So great. All right, so now we're going to listen to Joel.
Always, on awakening in the morning, let us turn the day over to God. This is the day the Lord hath made, and I will listen. Speak, Lord. Be with me every step of today. And then frequently throughout the day, remember again, not my will be done, but thine. I will walk in the way that is shown me. How can God show us a way if we are not listening? If we are busy from waking up in the morning until sleeping at night, and then perhaps well fuddled with television before we go to sleep, believe that God's grace is with us through the night. We have shut God out completely. Oh, I enjoy television too, but that will never make me forget that the last function on retiring is opening consciousness to God's grace. Because be assured, we need it as much during sleep as we do during the day, in order that we may awaken in the morning spiritually inspired, spiritually endowed, spiritually strengthened. The failure of mankind testifies to the fact that even 8 or 9 hours of human sleep is not enough to prepare us for a day of human activity. We require, in addition to human sleep or physical sleep, we require spiritual grace. Why not let that spiritual grace permeate our consciousness while we sleep? For God neither slumbers nor sleeps. The presence of God never slumbers, it never sleeps. And therefore, when we open our consciousness specifically to the realization of the presence of God and God's grace before sleeping, we can then be assured that while we sleep, God works. The Spirit of God works in us and through us, soul, mind, and body. On the other hand, this very activity of admitting God to our consciousness at night may prevent our sleeping as many hours as we have been accustomed to. Instead of trying to force ourselves to sleep, it is far better to remain awake, communing with that Spirit that is within us, resting in quietness and in confidence. You see then that the entire secret of an harmonious life lies in our ability to open the door of consciousness and admit the Spirit of God, so that the Spirit of God may be upon us, that we may be ordained. The secret of an harmonious life depends entirely on the degree in which we can admit this presence of God consciously, so that thereafter we may live in the consciousness, I have meat. I have the presence of God within me, and it is the substance of all form. Let us walk for a few minutes with Moses on his trek with the Hebrews out of Egypt. And behold, as a cloud appeared by day and a pillar of fire by night, and manna out of the sky and water out of the rock, and ask yourself if you sincerely believe there is anyone in the world that can work such miracles. If you truly think objectively, you will know that no one on the face of the globe can work such a miracle as producing a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night and manna falling from the sky and water from a rock. It cannot be done. And Moses never attempted it. Moses lived in the realization that I and my Father are one. I am that I am. The presence of God is within me and speaks through me and acts through me. Moses was told that when he went to Egypt, that that voice would be with him, that that power of God would be with him, that he did not need to take an army to free the Hebrews. He could go without an army and free them in spite of Pharaoh's armies. With what? Only one thing: I will be with you. I will speak the words through your lips. Now, all that Moses had to do was to live in that consciousness. The I am is with me. The I am doeth the works. He performeth that which he has given me to do. And then God, in God's mysterious ways, produces a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and manna from the sky and water from the rocks. And then let us follow Elijah as he is being persecuted in the wilderness. He finds a poor widow sharing with him. Well, a poor widow hasn't very much to begin with. But here he finds one ready to share of that little with him. Sometimes even rich widows don't do that. And then he found ravens bringing him food. And he even found the miracle of cakes being baked on the stones before him. You don't believe that a man can do those things, do you? Please don't. No man can perform such miracles, but I can. I, who have meat the world knows not of, I, the Spirit of God in man, I, the presence of God in you, I can. And as long as you are about your Father's business, doing that which is given you to do, you too can relax. And if it is necessary for a poor widow or widower to share with you, it will be done. If it is necessary for ravens to bring food or any other birds, it will be done. If it is necessary for food to appear out of the air, it will be done. Never credit any man with being a miracle worker. It is the Spirit of God in man, that which is closer to every one of us then breathing. And then finally, let us walk with the Master and watch him heal the sick, and at the same time say, I can of my own self do nothing. Let us watch him as he feeds the hungry and hear him say, if I speak of myself, I bear witness to a lie. It is the Spirit, the Father within me, that doeth the works. Watch him raise the dead, in spite of saying, I of my own self can do nothing. And then you will know that no man is a miracle worker, not even Jesus Christ, but the Spirit of God with which he was ordained, the Father within him. And so you will discover that the reason he taught and the message he taught was that you and I have that same indwelling Spirit in us, even as he proved to Paul, who at one time was Saul of Tarsus, the persecutor. Even through Saul of Tarsus, he made Paul a miracle worker by that same Spirit which was also in Christ Jesus, which is also in you. Therefore, learn to commune with that Spirit which is within you and discover for yourself that all that the Father hath is yours. You have within you the same substance, the same Spirit, the same mind that was in Christ Jesus. But you and I must develop that listening ear in order that that Spirit may be released. Or as Browning said, we must open out a way for that imprisoned splendor to escape. That imprisoned splendor which I am, which is the Christ, the Spirit of God in you. As we do that this month, I'm sure you're going to discover by the end of the month that it is literally true that the miracle worker that worked through Moses and Elijah and Jesus and John and Paul, that miracle worker you have indwelling within you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joel. See, that was such a great talk. I love it. So this is just the last 10 minutes of it. So the rest is great too. So it's wonderful to listen to. So the next thing that comes up is sharing my sharing my morning inspiration. I'm bicycling through the city here. Seeing things that's like, wow, I can't believe it. Wow, yeah, let's film it. Why not? And so that's what I did. And I composed some music with it too. But see, it's not of my own doing. It's just happening. I would not be able to do any of it, but it happened. And so I love to share my morning inspiration with you as a musical moment together. And I hope you can enjoy that too. So let's see. So yeah, it's really about that, huh? To come into the quiet place, to contemplate these ideas, to let them integrate in you, to relax in them, not to force anything, just letting it occur, but opening your consciousness to that, what is there already. So that's what I wanted to share today in this short moment, like together as an yeah, possibility for a new experience, for a new start, always. And so thank you so much for your presence today. So I will play a song and relax some more and see what happens. So thank you so much for your presence. Have a lovely day, and see you soon. Thank you so much.